just got to see Battalion secure themselves a final spot in the Challenger Cup. And now, well, it's time to see the other side of the semi-finals and see exactly whether it's going to be Airbrushd or Battalion that make it there and join them.
You can see Battalion 2-1ing Nate's minions, and that Naaaarrrrk guy, he looked pretty solid. I think there's actually a fair number of talented players coming out today in this European Challenger Cup finals, and I'm really excited to see what Airbrushd and Battalion can bring.
Well, all these teams have fought a hard, long battle over a series of weeks to actually get this far. Obviously, Face It brought all that to you. And now we're down to the nitty-gritty of it, basically. One of these two teams will move on to the finals and have a shot at the relegations alongside the one Battalion.
You know what my favorite part about kind of this format is that we get to see these players and have no prior knowledge or experience on them. We just get to see how they're going to be playing on the big stage and make a guess on how skilled they are compared to those bottom tier, European Challenger, or excuse me, European SEL and North American SEL teams. So seeing that comparison, I think, is a pretty good look. Also, we get to see some of these teams develop as well, right? We had the quarterfinals already. We have the semifinals now, and we're also going to get to see them face off in the final. So a lot of knowledge to kind of figure out here.
Completely agree. I mean, these guys come in with a clean slate, so if they can perform on the big stage in front of you all, we may see some future talent for the console league. Let's go into P's and B's and see how Airbrushd and Battalion line up here.
Also, the top picks in this format actually have been pretty consistent with what we see the SEL and SPL players. A lot of times you'll see players in kind of the amateur scene play gods that they're comfortable with. Their god pools don't go as deep into those top tier picks unless they invest a lot of time into it. But it seems everyone has come out to play here.
And that could be a benefit to you as well if you pull something like, I don't know, an Anubis. I'll say that as a joke. But if you play Anubis really high level and nobody really comes up against it too often, it's very difficult for people to prep against it.
It's one of the strengths against playing kind of those off-meta picks is not only are you very comfortable with it because it's something you really enjoy, you know all the intricacies of it and kind of all the counter matchups, but people forget how to play against certain gods. Zeus has kind of fallen out of the meta. He's going to take a ban. Fafnir, he's pretty in meta right now, and he's going to be banned away by Battalion. Doesn't want that top tier.
Well, Alquang definitely in the meta right now, but in the meta for a while as well. Had very good performances consistently through the leagues of both console and PC.
You know, when you see the Alquang kind of reign supreme when it's on a top tier player in their respective region, right? Adapting, Homie FA. These are the players that you're seeing really utilize Alquang, having those 10+ kills a game, which is not an easy feat.
It's not. Nice back over to Battalion for their second ban here before Airbrushd get the first option available to themselves. Obviously, a lot of things on the table, but Fafnir being taken away. Pretty much a key one there. Very, very strong right now is Fafnir. Obviously, about to be toned down in the latest patch as well.
I'd like to see a Raijin ban. This may be something that Airbrushd is looking to pick up. We've seen really how strong a Raijin can be in the meta, especially if put in the hands of a very confident and aggressive mid-jungle synergy team.
Well, just to let you know at home as well, obviously it wasn't a Zeus ban, it was an Odin, bit of a mistake there, but Nemesis also banned away here, so obviously assassin focus with the Alquang and the Nemesis. Odin can flex to the support or the jungle role, but obviously Raijin available, going to be locked in.
Battalion, yeah, they take out the Nemesis instead of the Raijin. Airbrushd, I think this is a combo or a matchup we're really looking to get in. Oh, excuse me, I was lost. It was the Odin ban, not the Zeus.
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
Yeah, I was like looking to see what the ban was going to be. I'm sorry. I apologize.
It's okay.
But it's okay. Odin's going to be banned. Raijin's still the top mage considered by most teams. A lot of pressure, a lot of easy-to-confirm damage.
Agreed. We see a lot against the Raijin. We generally see at the moment is the Isis, the Giannis, the next two go-tos really in that lane after the Zeus taken away. But Guan on the Xbox and on the PC as well. Obviously, great control, great sustain from this god.
It's the sustain.
Also, the fact that the ultimate can deal a considerable amount of damage.
We've seen the recent changes to Guan Yu. The recent patch, I think it was 3.13, where we saw his passive be changed a little bit. He's getting less effectiveness out of the healing and more effectiveness about everything else, right? The longer stun on the ult, the increased slow on the dash, and the bonus protection shred on that Talu assault. But it really just comes down to the stain. Conviction out of combat is one of the strongest abilities for team fights. You're able to engage, and as long as no one dies, reset the team fight, have everyone heal up while the other team is still low.
It's surprising, though, to actually see Airbrushd band away the Odin, especially if they weren't going to get Guan Yu for themselves here, because Guan Yu, one of the only real counters to him is the Odin. Trap him inside with the ring and try and pin him there so he can't sustain.
They did pick up the Sobek as well, one of the two supports that do have that anti-healing. They could also look into going to the Osiris for the soul lane, which we've seen seen very effective in kind of diving out players and gods that like to run Guan Yu, but you have to very heavily commit to the Guan Yu, which can become dangerous in a lot of situations if he's tanked up or got a lead.
Well, knockups for days are available for both teams here. Bacchus, Jing, Wei for the knockups to that side, and Sobek across the way. I expecting a wheel expand potentially at one of these two teams here.
Both of these teams can run a Wheelix really efficiently. Jing Wei, though, has a little bit of a counter to it, but you have to still be careful with your purification, and Abstract wastes no time. They take away the Wheelix. Battalion, on the other hand, actually took out the Ho-Yi. They've already picked up Jing Wei. I expect another Hunter ban. They want to make sure they have that winning matchup in the duo lane.
It makes sense to ban away the Neef as well, just because she's so safe and can influence the map across it because of the World Weaver. That global ultimate can really put pressure on the other lanes. And Humbat, some nice all-round junglers. It's very smart from Abstract to just focus the junglers here, knowing that they still need to find one.
Thor's still open, which I think could be something interesting to look into for Battalion. Having that global presence as well as the gank ability, and more importantly, the lockdown onto Susano. One of his biggest weaknesses, which is the trouble with most junglers that like to be in that front line, is that player-made walls really distract them. Ymir, Thor, Kabrak, and Odin, all very strong against them, but instead...
It's going to be the Rat instead. High mobility, good map presence as well, being able to jump around in the tree to his advantage as well. And obviously, early game presence, very similar in a lot of ways to Susano.
Has a lot of self-sustain, a lot of, in and out poking abilities. Also, the stun on the Acorn Blast is one of the strongest things of his kit, but you do have to be in that melee range, which gets very dangerous as Raijin does so much confirmed burst damage to anyone who gets in kind of this, invisible aura around him. You always have to be careful of him.
Well, I'm expecting that Kumbhakarna is going to the solo lane here for Abstract, up against the Guan Yu. Very good matchup for Kumbhakarna here, just because he can take the Yawn or even the Groggy Strike to disable the Tallow Assault. Tallow Assault rooting him in place so he can't spin through the minions, or the Yawn just to cancel it completely.
I mean, any Guardian versus Warrior matchup, the Guardian's typically just looking to farm. In this matchup specifically, though, there obviously is that counter where you can cancel out his main damage swords. Additionally, Guan Yu really struggles in the early laning phases, so this could be something that Abstract actually find a win in. I expect a fair amount of pressure onto those blue buffs for both junglers. I would like to see both of them look for the invades.
On the solo lane.
At the very least, look to confirm, because I don't think any of these gods has the clear one-on-one matchup.
Completely agree with that. Finally, the Zeus is locked in. Obviously, it wasn't banned, as we mentioned earlier, but Battalion leaving that mid lane until last is the most interesting thing there. Like, they left the mage till the very, very last pick, something we don't generally see.
Typically, mages are picked up in the first phase. I would even say they are almost never picked up in the second phase. Every once in a while, you'll see one slip through the cracks, but last pick, your full counter pick to your mid, I think this is someone we should look at. This Gears of Luke guy for Abstract, he got the counter pick for the team. I don't know if he's team captain, he just wanted the counter pick for himself, or this is something that they want to play through him.
Well, let's just go through the teams for you guys at home in case you don't recognize them. We've got Abstract here, starting on the bottom of your map, the left-hand side of your spectator UI, and we're going to see Ezzuna playing the Sobek. We've got Airbrushd playing Susano, Bloakley playing Raijin, DineOhSaw playing Kumbhakarna, and Naaaarrrrk. I think I got that right.
I think I'm just going to say Naaaarrrk.
Anhur.
I'm probably going to stick with Naaaarrrk.
No, you've got to stick to his full name.
Well, Battalion, they've got a roster too in the soul lane on the Guan Yu. No Compromise on Instinct in the jungle. Gears of Luke in the mid. Olliieee, I think that's Olliieee. Oh, we don't like Olliieee.
You got to get it right.
We don't. No, that's Olliieee. We don't like him. Remember?
What do we
Game
like
of Thrones?
Olliieee?
No one likes Olliieee.
Oh, really? We're making those references already?
Probably. Style also going to be the hunter
no style
in that dual lane.
No style.
No style.
He's not style. He's no style.
It's no Styley.
If he puts on any flex in this game whatsoever, any skill, I'm going to be like, that's not supposed to happen.
He's probably someone who's just going to look to dive, in all honesty. It's probably a fake name just to, confuse people, and then he dives on you and you have no idea what's happening.
Well, definitely advantage in the solo lane here for Battalion early on. They get there a little bit quicker than their counterparts, so we'll see if they can actually put some pressure. Now, actually, talking about, I expected Kumbhakarna would be in the solo lane here, but this
really good matchup.
Sobek into the Guan Yu.
This might be what we were talking about earlier, just kind of the comfortability on these players. The Sobek, don't get me wrong, Sobek is great in the solo lane. He works, but Kumbhakarna has that direct counter matchup to the Guan Yu. So I think this is the players just wanting to get something that they're used to playing, comfortable playing. This is the big stage. Winner of this, guaranteed into relegations. Obviously, we have the finals for the prize money as well, but this is the game that truly matters.
I think the big thing with that as well is that Sobek can bring a little bit more damage to the team in terms of going that solo lane. Yes, Kumbhakarna has very good single target damage.
That's true.
But for a whole team, Sobek definitely brings a little bit more and is there to tank and cause issues. Kumbhakarna, peel, maybe.
I will say as well, kind of to that regard, is that The Kumba has CC, where even if he doesn't have the level, he's going to be able to lock people down, also set up kills. Sobek, on the other hand, if he gets behind, he can really be abused, especially since his primary initiation tool is also his movement ability. It could put him in bad spots, even if he finds the plucks.
I like the patience coming out of DineOhSaw there. Unfortunately, he misses the groggy strike, though, and Naaaarrrrk follows up quite nicely.
That was a style juke. That was a,
Is that what it
that
was?
was a no-style juke. He had the quick backstep, and it's really nice. A little bit of aggression, though. Actually, a fair amount of aggression in this duel lane.
Surprised by the flop coming out from Bacchus there, because generally in the laning phase, you're not looking at poke at that moment in time. You're looking to clear the wave. You've got to get the wave clear going, otherwise you're going to fall behind and be pushed into your talent just like this.
Well, the Bacchus has gone Wrath, something that we're going to have to take note of for Battalion. More than likely looking for those very early Gold Furies. And to combat that, we actually see the Susano on the other team. On Abstract, pick it up as well. Doesn't feel like he needs the purification, which could get him into trouble against that Bacchus.
The funniest thing is, if we saw that Susano take the Wrath at the start of the game, we still got to lane a little bit later on that right-hand side, which is quite surprising.
It's just Sobek, man. His clear is very slow. On the other hand, Guan uses very fast. DineOhSaw at level 1, one of the hardest hitting abilities, so it does make a little bit of sense.
So no real action in the mid lane yet, and the jungle is just continuing to farm up, do their back harpies right now on each side. Sobek on the right-hand side here has a bit of lane presence, which is a little bit surprising. The DineOhSaw obviously can clear this wave pretty effectively in the early stages, but Sobek having a bit of an easier time of it so far.
Looking at these team comps, I kind of expect this game to go late. You have the Guan Yu on Battalion side, where they really just want to farm up, right? Get that Zeus to late game damage. The Bacchus and the Jing also going to carry very well into that mid game. And then once you get into team fights, as long as you don't get 100-0 bursted, you can reset, find the heals. Probably a meditation coming out of No Compromise as well.
I'm looking at Ezzuna here, and he's doing a very good job of clearing the wave and poking at the same time, which is something you need to do. The same can't be said, though, for No Compromise here. His DineOhSaws should be shredding the whole wave. He should be looking not just for the melee creeps, but the ranged as well at the moment. He's been so focused and just hitting the front ones.
He needs to be a little bit careful, though. You can see that Ratotoskr clearing out the fire elementals, not looking for a gank, though. Might have been a good opportunity, considering Ezzuna doesn't have that much mana. Likely to ult this or the next wave to get that mana regen, get back to full health, and sustain in this lane, but he's actually just playing it pretty slow.
Well, junglers at the moment, Susano is going to take his speed buff here and start rotating over to the right where the blue buff will be available. Meanwhile, still in the mid lane for Battalion is the Zeus at the moment and the Ratotoskr. Now they're going to head over for that speed buff. Reds have spawned as well, and no team's even looking at the red buff just yet.
Not a lot of synergy, I'd say, coming out of these mid jungles. Might be a little bit of trouble in left, but Jingwei just flies away. Normally we see jungles and mids hip to hip to hip. We're not really seeing that from Abstract. Raijin and Susano are typically on the opposite sides of the map, clearing out their own buffs, their own jungles, which isn't the most efficient, but also leads me to believe that they're playing for this late game as well. They want to farm up as long as possible, don't want to look for too many initiations.
I was interested to see if Abstract did come over from the dual lane to support that red buff there and make sure they soak experience, share it wisely.
Yeah, you 100% need that shared experience.
If you don't share, you just end up falling behind to the enemy.
It's all about efficiency, right? Making sure to split those camps 2 or 3 waves with everyone possible, as long as you're not losing minions in your wave, which does happen sometimes in the solo, but it can be pretty easily avoided.
Well, right harpies went the way of Battalion. Left one's going to go the way of Abstract here as well. They're going to swing themselves back towards the mid lane as well and just going to have to clear that one out. So we won't see any pressure for now, even though we do see the first rotation from the supports.
Kumbhakarna going to be helping out in the mid lane here. Did not go the blink, so we're not going to see any surprise initiations coming out from him. He's gone the Shell, so looking more for the team fights.
I think Shell's pretty wise here, though, on the Kumbhakarna, just because of the amount of burst damage that can come out from Battalion squad here. Obviously, you got the Intoxicate and the Zeus.
It's really the Zeus. Yeah. The Zeus Bacchus can combine to kill supports, to absolutely shred supports who don't have Purification or any defensive relics early on. But that's not something Battalion has been really looking to try and force. Everyone just trying to farm out as much as possible.
Well, build-wise, both the mages have gone back to base and picked up full boot, so choosing the Magi for both there, so extra penetration and mobility, as we're looking at Naaaarrrk on this left-hand side here. Still not been back to base just yet.
Ooh, this could be a Gold Fury attempt. Abstract, they do have the Wrath from Susano. They're going to start this up. Quickly spotted out by Gears of Luke, though, and Bloakley seems like he wants to go aggressive, but the positioning from Battalion just reset.
Yeah, it's funny because Zeus walking around the corner there just stopped Abstract in their tracks immediately, going, nope, not going to even try this, knowing that that massive damage deal is there. Oh, lucky with the Impale there from Naaaarrrrk. He was looking to try and put him into it. I'm not going to find it into the pillar.
I don't think we've seen Susano or Zeus do any damage. I'd actually like to see player damage just to kind of see how meticulous both these teams have been. Yeah, it's really only that soul lane Sobek who's been poking the Guan Yu as much as possible. A little bit of action in the dual lane, but 3 players less than 100, and that's your core.
This is just focused on farming here. I mean, take into account that if you do win this set here, you do manage to win the two games out of the 3.
You go to relegations.
You go to relegations, and that's a big step up for these boys.
We see that a lot in the critical games, especially with less experienced teams where they like to play it very slow. Once they get used to each other, you'll see games start to pick up in action. Just think about the last match we saw, Putkettle versus Nate's Minions. Game 3 was absolute domination from Putkettle. They really kicked it up into gear. They figured out their opponents, and they knew what they needed to do to win.
Well, Gears of Luke was hanging on that left-hand side of those Harpies there, just to keep an eye on the Gold Fury more than anything else to see what was being done. He was going to let them take a lot of free poke, which was wise. In the end, they don't decide to go for it, as clearly Anhur was not available for that rotation.
No Style also could have been in trouble there, but DineOhSaw, what are we going to call him? DineOhSaw? Dinosaur?
DineOhSaw.
DineOhSaw could have ganked that dual lane, but elected not to. I really think that Battalion is trying to set up for this, Abstract is trying to set up for this Gold Fury as early as possible, but they want to sneak it. Battalion's just been too good on noticing the rotations.
Well, Ezzuna on that Sobek. Got to be a little bit careful on that right-hand side up against the Guan now, because technically no compromise could go fully aggressive and all in, especially with the amount of damage that can come out from the cavalry charge early on.
I would really like to see On Instinct rotate over it and look for a gank, mostly because the Sobek is pretty willing to burn his ultimate. Also, we saw him trying to counter the Talu Assault with the charge prey, baiting that out and calling for your jungle rotation. And look at this, no wards on the right side of the map. Both of these solo laners are very susceptible to ganks right now.
I think at the same time, though, if one of those junglers do appear over there, then definitely Gold Fury is a threat from the enemy team for sure. The one benefit is that if we do see Abstract go over there for the gank, well, Battalion still have a Wrath available on the Bacchus.
Abstract still doing a really good job of trying to set up for this Gold Fury. They're going to find the counter ward, but Battalion knows exactly what's happening. Still, the 4-man group up on the left-hand side. Mez just off the mark.
Yeah, he needs to start connecting those. It's not the hardest ability in the game to hit by far. And if he does find it, though, he's
to be fair, that was a speed buff Ratotoskr, okay? He just did the quick little backstep.
It's a little squirrel for the now.
He's hard to, if it was a Khepri, right? You can't miss the Khepri.
That's true.
He's as big as a lane.
Well, the Hunters at the moment both stacking up the Devour's gauntlets as well. As you can see, 7 stacks of the Anhur, 14 online for the Jing wave for the time being here. So pretty much doing what you'd expect them to do at the stage of the game. The only difference is both these teams are playing it very, very passive. Not much player damage, not much aggression, just farm. 2,000
player damage coming out from the Sobek, 1,500 from the Guan. You make sense, right? You always have the kind of battles in the soul lane. I'm a little bit surprised to not see these mid-jungles trying to go more aggressive, or at least looking for opportunities to burn those relics before a team fight. That's something we haven't been seeing so far from either team, is get those purifications off the mid. Force a fight. Even if you don't want to commit to it, you know players are gonna panic and burn them.
Well, the way this is going, I'm expecting a full build, full end game situation here between these two teams. In terms of one Fire Giant, one Gold Fury, one Deicide, and the game should be pretty much done.
And if it goes that late, I really can't decide on which team is gonna have a slight edge. Obviously, you have the burst from the Bacchus and the Zeus looking at Battalion, as well as the reset and reinitiation potential from the Guan Yu heal. But you look at Abstract, they have a really good dive comp. Susano and Kumbhakarna can lock onto that Zeus if they're left untouched and completely destroy him. And he doesn't have that much peel if the Bacchus is going aggressive.
I'm definitely feeling Abstract if we go super late in this game, just because of the Raijin, that ultimate, the Taiko drums, because he can penetrate through multiple peel and deal ridiculous damage and taunt and fear if he so chooses. That could turn a fight completely, especially with the sort of composition he's up against.
There is the worry of the Guan Yu, Ratotoskr, and Bacchus all needing to be in melee range. They like to fight close. They have those very close-centered fights, and Zeus likes to be in there too so he can connect those chain lightnings. And because of that, the Raijin is going to get off a fair number of damage as long as Bloakley can stay okay.
We saw Sobek there just using his ultimate just for regen more than anything else. Obviously, you get the mana regeneration from using the Lurking in the Waters there to his advantage. And ward wars continue between these two teams, approaching 10 minutes now.
For those of you just joining us, this is the Face It Challenger Cup Finals. These teams have all won their own separate cups over the past 8 days, and now they're facing off in a single elimination tournament. We've already gone through the quarterfinals. We're only broadcasting the semis and the finals. Putkettle on defeated Nate's Minions right before this set was broadcast, and now the winner of this also will be joining Putkettle in the SCL relegation.
Well, the kettle's definitely on now. I'm certain of that.
How long have you held that? When did you think of that one?
Just then, really.
Just then? That was pretty good for on the spot.
Just on the spot. I mean, Putkettle on's a classic UK line, so it doesn't really surprise me too much.
Here we go. Gold Fury started up by Abstract, and Gears of Luke throw out some damage. He throws out some damage We still saw Abstract commit to that, then decide better of it when no one on their team was kind of nearby.
When Gears of Luke got there and did that nice little chain lightning just bouncing between them, he realized he was going to take too much poke. They knew, the enemy team knew what was going on, so it just wasn't worthwhile.
Full shoutouts to Gears of Luke. Oh, we have some aggression here. Instinct just off the mark, but the rotation from on Compromise.
They should be looking for Kumbhakarna here, and they'll look for him and find the stun onto him, but where's the follow-up? No! Follow-up is the answer there, as Ratotoskr comes crashing down very, very late on that. And in the end, the fight washes, but we're in the jungle. Look at the Hunters right now, arguing over a red buff.
I think Anhur confirmed it, and he does. Jing, though, a little bit caught out on his own. DineOhSaw doesn't want to force this fight, but he's going to be backing. And Battalion, they've started up the Gold Fury. He's got to cancel, and he recognizes it. They do have the ward vision in Abstract favor, but it's quickly countered out. And this Guan Yu could come up big in this fight.
But he doesn't have cavalry charge this time around. Still on cooldown. Bacchus to lead in, looking for the stun. Chain lightning round the corner coming out from Luke there. Does a good job with it, but gets a lot of damage back from that Raijin.
They need to go for the Gold Fury right now. They forced Raijin's ultimate. He's going to be back too, took too much damage, and this is exactly what they're going to do. Battalion start to pull it. Susano, no ultimate. It's going to be trouble for him to get in this.
Susano has the Wrath, but he can't get in time by the looks of it. Gold Fury goes the way Battalion, and now the fight is underway. Desert Fury on the mark, nastily there from the Anhur, but it's not enough for a kill. Luckily enough, he's got a Sobek in support, and Ezzuna gets first blood, but he will pay with his life.
He's isolated. No way he gets out of this one, and there it is. Gears of Luke finds the return kill. First blood still going to Abstract, so they get the extra gold bounty 12 minutes in, and the teams have finally started to kick up. Gold difference, though, fairly negligible. Right now, Battalion has about a 1k lead off of that Gold Fury, but because of that first blood going to Abstract and getting that extra bounty, it's not too substantial. Also, it took them 12 minutes to get to this point.
For that one, it was to the aggressors go the spoils there, because Battalion were the first ones to try and initiate something. It didn't work out, but what they did do is burn a relic or two, and also make people use some ultimates. Those almost been on cooldown, develop the situation for the Gold Fury attempt.
That was also a really well-timed aggression play, because no Compromise had just come back from level 12, which means he got the second relic, got the meditation. Obviously, the sprint was on Sobek, but he knew that the players in mid only had one set of purification or wrath on the side of Susano, and the shell on the Kumbhakarna. So really well timed coming up from him.
Well, no Styley here on the Jingwei. Needs to be a bit respectful in this lane, because he's still not gone back to base yet. And Anhur, as you can see, Naaaarrrk been back a couple of times and is quite far ahead in terms of build here. Styley's going to be very careful.
Based on this mana, this Anhur should be as aggressive as possible, but he doesn't really have the minion, or excuse me, the wards to his advantage right now. So he's got to play it a little bit safe. You always have to be worried about that semi-global coming up from Ratotoskr or the Bacchus knocking you up in the jungle. So he just needs to play it safe for now.
Are they 4-leaf clovers on Sobek's shirt?
Yeah.
Lucky Sobek.
Lucky Sobek.
In his Bermuda shirt.
It's the Lucky Sobek skin.
At the same time.
Still, though,
it's a Hawaiian shirt.
Battalion on the minimap.
Yeah.
Grouped up there.
I was thinking about American words I know get right all the time. I'm like,
you got to put the kettle on. You got that one.
Put kettle on. Well,
I got to give you credit for that one. Yeah, I don't know about the next one.
It's definitely a
nice
UK reference, that one, for sure.
Anyways, right now, about a 1k gold lead for Battalion. They forced the first fight. They got the first Gold Fury. Ezzuna was able to answer back, though, for Abstract, finding that first blood. Pretty important for the Sobek, and he's actually already building into anti-slow. It looks like it's going to be a Winged Blade after his Breastplate of Valor.
I'm just looking at where the actual kills went in that last one. The kill going to Zeus for Battalion, very important, along with the Gold Fury. Although it looks like he's going for a Winged Blade here by the looks of it.
I don't mind this. There's not too many slows on Abstract, but there's a number enough where he wants to play safe. We see this a lot over in the North American SEL on Clow. Almost any god. He just likes the bonus health. It's 300 health. It's a little bit of move speed, and you also just get that passive where if you're slowed, you immune it, also get the damage or the speed boost.
Looks like Jingwei's a little bit out of position here, but trying to use the ultimate over the wall, and will do so. Airstrike comes in handy there. She did look to steal away that red buff, but a little bit overextended.
That's an opportunity for Abstract. They need to get the Susano over here and gank this Jingwei. She's already finally evened up with the Anhur. If you can give them just an item lead by finding an extra gank, that's going to go a long way.
Well, we've got two players just waiting on their second relic now, and that's just the supports. And when they actually get that second relic, I want to see whether Kumbhakarna, DineOhSaw here, does end up going for the blink, because they need some initiation, this team, because Sobek's not involved in the fights just yet.
And Sobek can initiate, but we talked about it earlier, where that's also his movement ability. So he puts himself in a really rough position if he finds the charge prey, and even if he connects it and flings someone back to his team, he's still isolated in the back line of his opponents. So making it so the Sobek is more situated on kind of peeling and doing a little bit of AoE damage instead of being that primary initiator, I think is going to go a long way for Abstract.
See how it works out for him, because Sobek at the moment as well, by the looks of it, he's building Wingblade as well, but as a damaging Sobek, Wingblade's not something you really need with that lurking in the water so much.
Sometimes the Wingblade, that's the thing about movement speed in Smite, is that it's so unpredictable. It's one of these stats that you can't quantify how important it is, but you see all the junglers. They'll forego a team fight just to pick up their speed buff, and the reason is you can juke all of these abilities, you can also chase down kills, and it goes a long way without being able to put a true stat to it.
Well, back to the duo lane we go, and back to the fight between these two. Anhur just being bullied out a little bit, and being quite respectful here is Naaaarrrk, and I think it's just because of the fact that now even build once more.
I don't know if I feel like Naaaarrk's playing a little bit scared. This might be someone NoStyle might be someone he goes up against often, maybe in kind of ranked play or getting some scrims. But, I mean, Anhur versus Jingwei, as the Anhur, you should be as aggressive as possible in the early game when your abilities are chunking the most.
Because the longer the game goes on, the more that crit comes into play with the explosive bolts from Jingwei, and then she can turn it on a knife edge.
She also has so much outplay potential, right? Especially if she's knocked up by Ezzuna, can quickly just counter it, dash away, and Naaaarrrk just try to survive in this lane. Doesn't want to be aggressive. I think he's a little bit scared of NoStyle.
I mean, it was good poke coming out from him there, but he had a full minion wave, so he couldn't really commit to that as well at the same time. Both hunters, though, have fully set the Devour's Gauntlets, followed it up with an Iqbal. The builds are identical at the moment.
And gold and experience seem relatively the same. Surprisingly, the Zeus is actually... I know he got a kill, but Zeus having a level on a Raijin is not something you see too much, because Zeus is... a lot of times have to play scared because of how vulnerable they are to ganks where the Raijin has the Thunder Crash, so he can play a little bit more aggressive. He can rotate a little bit more efficiently. But right now, Airbrushd hasn't put any pressure onto Luke.
And I'm a little bit worried about Luke's build just because of the lack of damage that we're going to see coming out of this with the Winged Blade coming up. Meanwhile, Raijin going for the Book of Thoth now by the looks of it. Or if he wants to, the Soul Reaver. He's got the Bancroft's Talent fully completed and the Shoes and the Medjay too. So just keep an eye on how much damage Zeus does. I mean, his base stats are generally very good anyway, and he can kind of get away with it.
It's really about if you can 3-stack someone with your detonate, it doesn't even matter how much damage you have. It's really about that overkill. Raijin, though, wants a little bit more damage and burst into his kit, especially when you have that Raiju Thunder Crash combo on top of a Soul Reaver. You could almost 100-0 squishy once you're full build.
Well, World Wars are going to begin again between these two as the Gold Fury has respawned. Battalion got the last one, and they did it very, very well at the end of the day, actually forcing Abstract back from base.
Wrath up for both teams right now, but more importantly, level 12 hit by Bacchus earlier, which means he has that extra shell. Kumba still doesn't have a second relic. If Battalion are going to force something, it needs to be now. I'd rather see them set up for a gank and try and force a fight, and then regroup afterwards and go for it.
Yeah, I'm just looking DineOhSaw here. 731 player damage so far on a Kumbhakarna. Little low, which shows he's not really been using that ultimate on cooldown like we've seen.
I don't think he's used it once. I think he missed it in the team fight. He missed it in the team. But I mean, that's what both teams are going for. We're 17 minutes in. There's only been one kill on both sides and one Gold Fury, and no one higher than 6,000 player damage.
Now, I do like the difference in builds coming out of the Hunters now, finally, as we see the Wind Demon being worked on by the Jingwei, and Naaaarrrk here on the Anhur. He's actually going what looks like probably the Executioner, which is kind of standard for both of these, I'd say.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a power curve difference where the Executioner are going to be significantly cheaper. Wind Demon also, you're kind of relying on the proc.
We got a teleport around the back from the Sobek here as well. And he's going to actually be able to collapse onto 3 targets, pulling one into the danger zone. And the drums of war are sounded, and Zeus is annihilated. Naaaarrrk credit for the kill. Meanwhile, Kumbhakarna is still going and keeping himself busy and trying to...
One kill for Abstract. This is a pretty good initiation for them. They took out the primary damage source, and now Ezzuna just trying to reset. Olliieee pushed into the wall, then plucked back in as well. He's going to be forced to retreat, but DineOhSaw quickly finds one up into the sky, and it's going to be Jingwei isolated. The issue is, though, there's not enough follow-up damage. Olliieee still fighting in between 3. He's going to be taken out by Naaaarrrk, and Abstract looking really good for this Gold Fury.
Yeah, Abstract's a little bit split on comms there on who we should be focusing on, but at the end of the day, it worked out well. The 2 Guardians on zone duty here. There's the Yonk coming out, but there's going to be one swinging around the back. It's not going to be in time as Jingwei doesn't find the exit strategy, and there's Sobek flinging one into the danger zone, but nobody's there anymore. They're all disengaged.
Battalion needs to be a little bit careful here. Could have got re-engaged on, but Abstract finally fighting back. They're going to have the gold lead, 1,000 in their favor. Experience as well, but 19 minutes in, that's not even important. Actually, continued aggression right now from Ratotoskr. He noticed the Raijin was pretty poked out, trying to force a fight, but quickly we see Bloakley back to base.
And we saw the Sobek and Kumbhakarna doing their job very, very well there. Both of them on zone duty, just keeping the enemies busy. That's what Guardians bring, just the amount of control to the fight and the CC.
Ezzuna, with this build, right, he's so fast with the Winged Blade. Also, he's going to be able to chase you if you try and, slow him. Most notably around Gears of Luke and Battalion are looking to sneak a Fire Giant.
Well,
Abstract has no idea.
That is an amazing call at such a critical moment of the game when you just lose a Gold Fury and you swing across the map and pick up a free Fire Giant. Whoever made that call is amazing.
That was one of the smartest plays I've ever seen. And this is at Challenger Cup on console. That is not something you see. That is someone who is very intelligent at the game. And more importantly, they knew that Abstract had burned their wrath. So even if even if Abstract try and counter engage, they still had the wrath to guarantee the secure on the Bacchus.
Real surprise between that, because Abstract won that last fight in spades, and then to have it thrown back in your face with a Fire Giant being taken away.
I mean, they had the ward coverage on it. I don't know who has been primarily warding for Battalion on that right-hand side, but whoever did such a good job. And now Abstract, they know what's happening.
So what's the plan for Battalion now? You've got the Fire Giant. Where do you go?
I mean, at this point, you have this Fire Giant very early on in a very close battle. This buff is almost worth an entire item. So you have such a massive advantage now. You need to start grouping up, forcing fights, and forcing down these towers. And I think they're focused on the mid right now.
Well, there's 5 of them now swinging there as well. But there's the plug onto a Bacchus, not the prime target they're after. He's going to go and intoxicate, forcing Raijin well out of the fight. And in the sky is the Ratotoskr, who will secure the kill on the Raijin. Meanwhile, in amongst the pigeons is the rest of the team of Battalion looking for more.
Instinct knocked up here. DineOhSaw trying to answer back. The Raijin can't find the damage and quickly plucked back. It's going to be trouble for Instinct. Airbrushd comes up with the kill, but still on Compromize, pushing forward, doing a little bit of damage. But I mean, this it's so hard to fight into this Kumbhakarna.
Yeah, you just can't do too much because you'll just peel you in it. If not, Sobek's there with a tail whip instead, and that'll shut you down too. Kumba though on the front, taking a lot more poke than he wanted to. One more hit will put him into sleepy time, and the Zeus ult's going to drop down too to force them back and secure the kill of the Kumba.
Susano's come back, but he's going to be plucking the Guan. He's so tanky, he has no fear at this at all. He's going to be healing up his team, and this is going to be a tier 1 tower. So well played by Gears of Luke as well. He doesn't drop the ult to get a kill, but what was happening was that the Guardian was actually body blocking. Ezzuna was trying to make sure that Kumba in his sleepy time passive would stay alive by blocking those 8 hits. Instead, though, they can't sit in the Zeus ult. They're forced away, and Battalion come up with another kill.
Perfect performance from them in that. And the interesting thing, that was into a Fire Giant team there from Abstract, though, so finding some kills and only losing the 1 tower for the Fire Giant buff isn't so bad at this stage of the game.
Taking it off on Instinct was probably the biggest one. Taking off a Guardian like Bacchus, played by Olliieee, not that important.
I will say in that team fight, though, I did like the way Naaaarrrk played on the Anhur. Position was very good. He could have committed and potentially found himself another kill, but instead sat with his team and stayed at the back, focusing over and over again and just trying to get out the in-hands on the targets that came too close.
Really good job by Ezzuna, too. In lane, we didn't see him hit too many plucks. We actually saw him hit minions more than on Compromise, but in that fight, finds 2 critical plucks onto the 2 players that Abstract were able to pick up. First onto Olliieee, which his team reinitiated on, and then onto Instinct after he had dove the Raijin.
Anhur's a little bit caught out of position here, but obviously has a leap to get back to the safety of his tower. But Battalion trying to use this Fire Giant buff a little bit more. They've out-rotated Abstract here and should be looking to siege this one down.
No one on Abstract in position to follow this up. We actually have DineOhSaw kind of sitting in the jungle there, trying to get aggressive.
Ollie's positioning there on the back is very, very smart there. Cuts off the option in the jungle of him coming round and now allows his team to help siege a tier 2.
Abstract can't fight this. They have a Sobek split pushing right now. They cannot take this one man down. The Sobek's teleport is also away, so they're going to give it up. Really smart play coming out from Abstract, but they're only going to get a tier 1 in response. I have a feeling that Battalion will defend their tier 2.
There's only one problem for the boys of Battalion here is I don't think they know the Gold Fury timing, because if they did, they should be setting up for it right now with the last remnants of this Fire Giant buff.
Oh, trouble for Jing. She's by herself, plucked back in, but still in the air, so she's able to counter that with her dash.
Just gets out with the agility to her hand. Speed buff is available for Abstract here on the right-hand side to go and take. While Battalion, well, they're going to clear out their own jungle too, as well as spend all that gold they just earned from taking down those 2 towers.
I'm looking at this Sobek in most of Abstract fights. What is he going to be able to bring? He's still gone into defensive. We haven't seen him go into any hybrid items like Voidstone. He's gone into the Pestilence after the Wingblade, and now he's also working on to the Spirit's Robe.
Bloakley is getting aggressed on right now as he's trying to contest the Gold Fury here on that Raijin.
It's not good for him.
But the Gold Fury got reset for a second, so it's buying time for Sobek to come over too now. But can they contest enough is the question. Sobek's first here. Sobek does not have a Wrath, so he's just going to have to do this solo dolo. And unfortunately enough, it's not going to go his way.
I mean, no Wrath, you're not going to be able to contest that unless you force the person with Wrath off at the exact same second he's about to, and then hope you have enough damage to confirm it. But quickly, Battalion find themselves up about 3k gold. This was so even for quite some time. The kill's not in their favor, but objective control, they seem to be pretty smart.
I think that's the key here. Is Abstract seems to be the better team fighters from what I've seen here. However, Battalion, definitely the ones that are much better at
The shot calls.
with the shot
that,
calls.
That Fire Giant was such a smart shot call. I haven't seen something like that. And you'll notice that sometimes in the SPL, people will try it, but they don't always have the ward vision control. Just all of Battalion grouping up immediately, no hesitation in pulling it either. And Abstract were still at the base after the last fight, so they weren't able to recognize it and just snuck under their nose.
Really rough situation for both these two teams because they're both fighting for that one spot in the finals now to go for the relegations fight. And on paper, by looking at just this first game, they're looking relatively even for different reasons.
The one thing I find about Battalion that they're not utilizing enough is the Guan Yu. They go very aggressive, and he'll heal in the back line, but it seems like they want to fight. And even if they don't win it, they don't try and go back in, right? When you have a Guan Yu, the whole idea is to do as much poke damage as possible, then back off from the team fight, spam conviction, heal everyone up, and Abstract will either have to go back to base because they're too low, or they'll be forced to initiate when they're not at a health threshold that they're comfortable with.
So standout players for me, at least, is Olliieee. The Bacchus is having a fantastic game from what I've seen. His positioning seems very, very good in the jungle to cut off angles, as well as he knows when to initiate, it seems. When the team gets initiated on, he's right there with the counter initiation, take people out of the fight as quick as possible. But then on the enemy team, Abstract here, I like the look of Anhur, and I'm liking the look of basically the whole team seems to be coordinating very, very well together.
Focusing more on Olliieee, we did see when Ezzuna found that pluck in the mid lane, the first and really only team fight we've actually had, he didn't bounce back to his team. He actually bounced in place, and then he intoxicated 4 members, which made it very hard for them to fight into the reinitiation coming out from Battalion.
And that could have made it a 1-for-1 because of that in that whole engagement, which swung in the way of one of the teams overall here. But we're back in game again. 5-3 is the tagline for Abstract here. The gold is not in their favor right now, but they're aggressive in the jungle, and Sobek's a little bit caught.
Ezzuna's deep, and so is DineOhSaw. Look at this. Oh, that wind did so much, knocking up 3 players into the back line of Battalion, but they don't elect to initiate too hard.
I think that's a really key point there, because we've not really seen too many Jing ways do that, but covering that down with the wind gust, just stopping members coming through.
It covers almost that whole tunnel.
It does, and it's like, if you want to come through this, boys, especially because some of these characters are actually quite fat, right?
What are you trying to say? You have something against fat characters,
I'm trying to say, right, listen, me and Kumba are bros, right? We go way back. Me and Raijin, pretty much in the same standard now, but the bigger the model, obviously, the more area you need to cover, so that wind gust is going to hit you.
And a really good job by Battalion overall for covering that option, and now Abstract still trying to find something, but you could tell based on their positioning, they do not want another Fire Giant stuck. You can see they've already got the wards there. The Kumba's hovering, and look at this, Jingwei split pushing, but she's by herself, she's isolated.
And there's no tier 1 tower for her to fall back to, but they're not going to get there in time, I don't think. I think they could have committed with Sobek's sprint there. They could have found her, but instead, the team elect to just defend, and this is the problem we're seeing for the side of Abstract now, is they're responding to Battalion's aggression. They're not the ones being on the offensive here. Battalion are just pulling them to the left,
to be fair,
pulling them to the right, wherever they want them.
To be fair, Abstract really doesn't have that strong of an initiation. We thought that we'd see the Kumba go blink. He can dash in and then mez, but it's not like a belly flop or a dash taunt from Athena. Sobek obviously can find the charge brave, but we talked about how if he does so, he's going to put himself in a rough position.
But he's tanky, you know, he's a level 20 Sobek. That should be fine. That should.
But if he misses it,
then
it's bad.
I mean, there's a bit of trouble. You can always look in the water straight afterwards. Right? Oh, you're going to go
Don't want to burn your ult.
I'll be all right. I'll get myself out of the danger. It's not a full tank build, as we said. Going to come into play a little bit for that one. But for now, Battalion, they're still on the offensive here, just trying to pull people apart. There's 3 members on the right-hand side here looking for the tier 1.
I like what they're doing. It's very intelligent. They're splitting the map right now, trying to force as much of a rotation over the right-hand side as possible. The Zeus is in the mid. Oh, there's trouble for Jing, though.
Oh, look, she's got agility as per usual to get away, but she's going to walk right into a Raijin that's waiting. The Thunder crash down, and an immediate flop from Olliieee says, no, my friend, get away from my hunter.
Compromise goes in too, finds a 2-man stun, and quickly Naaaarrrk's got to reposition himself. Susano's on the back end trying to get out as fast as possible as DineOhSaw peels the carries off, but he's going to be forced to use his ult just to disengage, and he still might get caught.
Still looking for him, but there is the
Oh,
groggy
that was
strike.
so
This is
well
going to come
timed.
in handy. Make sure he doesn't get knocked up. But meanwhile, Jing Wei, the rest of his team go aggressive. He gets caught, goes away, comes back and takes the tower.
Shoutouts to Ollie. This guy is so quick
I
on
like
the
him.
reinitiation. Completely saved his Hunter, no style, and now Battalion. They're going to be grouped up. Bloakley's still down. This is a good fight for them.
And there's the charge prey used by the Sobek to try and get himself out of danger there. But there's a full minion wave coming in, and it's up to Naaaarrrk on the Anhur to try and bring those down as Sobek zones them, looking for plucks every time. Meanwhile, Battalion not scared here, and Bacchus going to tank this one up.
This is the siege that Battalion needs to undertake. Ezzuna on the front line. The Zeus ult still available. Watch out for the lightning storm from Luke, excuse me. Ollie jumps in but can't find anyone.
And there's the Zeus ult on top of him, pushing back Airbrushd one more time. Kumba on his last legs, forced to run away. And there's the cavalry charge, keeping them busy as they bring down the tier 2 tower.
Ezzuna able to stay alive for now, but it's really about the siege. And look at that conviction. Guan Yu healing
Sustain, yeah.
everyone up right now. Can we actually take a look at healing? I'd love to see how much he's done for how little fighting's been going on. 18,000 healing, and the highest damage in the game is 16.
16, and that's on a Sobek as well, so you just take away the whole of Sobek's damage, and you still got a spare 2k, which is basically Kumbhakarna's damage here. So Airbrushd have 2 members that have technically dealt no damage when you look at it.
I did
like
not
that.
realize no compromise had healed that much, just because of the lack of team fighting in that early game. I expected it to be much lower, but doing a good job overall on his rotations, making sure everyone's going to be healthy, and it looks like a bait, but everyone's backing, so it's not a bait.
It looked like they were really thinking about the fire giant there, but I think they realized they had a lot of gold in hand after taking down the tier 1, tier 2 tower, and they need to ward it up first of all. They can't go in blind knowing that Airbrushd may have wards around and could get it turned on because of it.
Someone on Airbrushd is going to have to deal with this Zeus. They can't let him just free cast in the back line, and more than likely it's going to be Sobek. Right now there's no penetration built onto the Zeus. He's only got the Shoes of the Magi. You can see he's working on it on the Obsidian Shard, but instead he switched over to the Ratotoskr. Keeping a Guardian on him is going to be very important in these fights. If he's just left to be able to spam his abilities and get off all his damage, I don't see how Battalion, or excuse me, how Airbrushd are going to be able to win a fight.
I mean, when I look at Gears of Luke there and actually see that he's bowled that Ratotoskr pretty much in full before the Obsidian Shard, it tells me that he went back to base with a hell of a lot of gold and thought, you know what? I can probably finish Rod here instead of going for that penetration, which most people would have gone for.
Probably after all those towers. It was probably the tier 1, the tier 2, and a couple of kills. But Airbrushd are kind of on their back foot right now. They do have a ward on the Gold Fury, but most of their team is centered around the right side of this map. They know that Battalion are looking for the Fire Giant, and they can't let it go for free.
I think Battalion should be looking at the Gold Fury here, just sending 1 or 2 members over and have everybody else dance the dance at the Fire Giant and just keep Airbrushd busy. And at the moment, you can see Guan Yu's over here. I'd like to see the Rat and the Jing Wei just go over to that Gold Fury and take it now. Use this opportunity.
You also have the semi-global coming out from Ratotoskr, as well as the passive from Jing Wei, so she can get into this fight without much trouble, even if she's on the opposite side of the map.
Instead, is Airbrushd pushing around the Fire Giant here, warding it up as they go, looking for plucks, as you can see with the Sobek, as Ratotoskr did just push up the mid lane a little bit, so nothing's really happening for now.
If I'm Ollie, I almost let him pluck me. Because that has been the best initiation that Battalion's had, is when Ezzuna plucked Ollie into the team fight and was able to intoxicate everyone. And then you just have the follow-up from No Compromise, able to kind of cavalry charge after when they're all grouped up.
Well, a few technical issues with this game, as you can see, guys, a lot of pauses between these two teams. Clearly, they keep putting the kettle on.
That joke. Like, it was great before, but you really tried to bring it back.
I did. I made it work, too. Who's
drinking tea right now?
Everybody
isn't it like 11 p.m. there?
Everybody in the UK is drinking tea right now.
They drink at 11 p.m.
Yeah. Trust
Why?
Me, tweet
Why do you
at
drink?
him. If you're in the UK and you've had a cup of tea recently, just tweet him so he knows how much we drink tea.
What are they putting in the tea, though?
Tea.
What are they really putting in the tea?
Hot water, Adonis, milk, and maybe sugar.
Something else? Little, you know...
No, we're not like Americans. Like, geez.
What are you trying to say?
You know what I'm trying to say.
Oh, man. Battalion, though.
It's still game 1. Airbrushd and Battalion still going at it for this game, and the Fire Giant dance is still happening between these two at the moment. And it's still poison and knife edge. Remember, this is game 1 as well, Adonis. This is a best of 3 between these two teams. Winner goes through to the finals.
And not only goes through to the finals, they also qualify for relegations. That's what these teams are battling for. They want to get into the European SCL, the North American SCL. Those relegations will be fighting on tomorrow.
Well, they were looking for
two off the mark.
Bacchus there, and actually really the aggress onto Luke here with Sobek. And I think if Zeus recognizes this, he could just turn and start whacking away onto that Sobek who's overextended. Talk about overextended. Raijin is isolated from his team now.
This is actually really good. Zeus was forced out of the fight, and now Abstract could look to go aggressive, but they're actually in trouble themselves. On Instinct finds the knockup, but not the kill, and Naaaarrrk's going to be knocked up as well.
Really good wingers coming out from Styley, but there's the drums of war sounded by the Raijin. It's not enough to secure a kill as they're still looking in for Sobek, and they'll find him. Kumba has to dash away with the throwback and keep running because the whole team of Battalion are still chasing.
The stun on DineOhSaw as well. Good yawn, but it doesn't matter. Surrounded by 3 people, it's going to be a shred fest. Only 2 players remain for Abstract, and they're still getting chased down into their Phoenix. Quickly, Battalion turn their sights onto the tier 2. They could either look for the Phoenixes or go for the Fire Giant, and they're going for it.
It's the first time that we've actually seen Battalion really win a team fight, and it was mainly based on the fact that they split their opposition into 2 halves. Split Abstract away, and Abstract won every fight I saw when they were grouped up. This time around, though, it was Battalion that was, and the sustain came through, and now the Phoenix will fall.
They could look for another Phoenix or play it safe. There's going to be a knock-up onto Susano. No stun just yet, but the body blocks from Olliieee. This kid is so good. They need one more stun, but it's not going to happen. Instead, they turn their sights to the right side. Phoenix with the knock-up. The Zeus ult. Oh, the detonate. It's just going to be
really
off the mark.
And Rat will get it. Spin to win online on Instinct. On point is the result from that one. They get 2 Phoenixes, and guess what? The Fire Giant is still standing here.
Right now, though, they do have to worry. Still 5 members alive for Abstract. The Wrath is on, but it's on Susano, who's the one player who's dead. So unfortunate. A Battalion should be able to get this unobstructed. I don't imagine Abstract are going to look to contest, but instead Battalion are playing it safe.
I think this is wise. Go back to base and just spend up first of all. Get full health, get some more wards.
Oh, look at that golden hand.
Because you could technically throw with a Fire Giant. You lose the Fire Giant in DineOhSaw, you could have this turned on immediately.
I mean, Ratotoskr had 3,000 gold in hand, another 2,500 from Jing.
Do you commit here as Abstract? And it looks like they are doing, you know, they've got putting pressure on already.
Not now.
4 members, they've got Sobek on zone duty here, but it's not going down very quick at the moment here, Adonis.
They don't have the secure either. I mean, all that needs to happen is the Wrath gets in from the Bacchus, and look at it. They're going to be forced off. Abstract on the defensive right now. Guan zoning Ezzuna, the player with the Wrath. He's actually isolated by himself there. He's going to get stunned as well. The pillar's good, and he's going to be able to dash away just barely, but Olliieee wants the kill.
And eventually Kumbhakarna going to take him out into the sky. He goes, and Naaaarrrk on the left-hand side on that Anhur forced out as well. Actually losing the trade now to no Styley. The pillar did not come into play long enough, and now Battalion pushing on here for the kills.
No towers remaining, though, and they're instead going to head straight back to the Fire Giant. No Compromise going to be able to heal them up right now. The Guan playing dividends, that early pick, and it's only Susano. He does have Wrath. He's making his way to the Fire Giant. Abstract need this steal to win this game.
Sobek's doing the right thing, though. He's trying to draw attention to himself, so Susano can jump in and be sneaky, cheeky monkey, but can he get it in time? The answer is no. Battalion get the Fire Giant, and another 2 members of Abstract fall in game 1.
This could be game. Only 1 Phoenix remains. All 5 members of Battalion alive. They've got the Fire Giant in hand. They're almost all full build, and there's only 2 left to defend on the side of Abstract. It's going to be up to Bloakley and DineOhSaw, and I don't see how they can defend this.
Well, it's up to them versus the world. That is Battalion right now. The Battalion going to march on in through the mid lane here. Just going to clear up a couple of minions. First of all, the Titan already weakened, and I think they recognize it's over. He's trying to force him away there with the Taiku drums, but it's too little too late. Battalion take game 1 after Abstract, to be fair, got off to the better start.
Abstract did. They got that early Gold Fury. Everything seemed to be going well for them. But the issue is they just seem to play so passively. The only time we saw initiation was on the side of Battalion. And they even played it a little bit slow. They didn't ramp up until about that 20-minute mark. They got the initiation off of, actually, Ezzuna. I think it was Ezzuna on that, the solo Sobek who actually forced the fight. And then Olliieee wasted no time. And Olliieee was phenomenal that game.
I think he got he did a very good job of zoning and then initiating when he needed to, and actually protection. Peel is one of the words we use a lot, and he actually really did a lot of peeling in that as well.
I'm actually